Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, however you found me. I'm just thankful you're here today. My name is Amber. I am the Freckled Lass. I'm a seamstress and designer. And today we are going back into our quilt blocks. Now, if you remember for the month of January, or if you haven't, just go back to my, what are they called? Lists. Where I actually have a quilt with me, and we are this year using this book, Quilt in a Day, and it's a Quilter's Almanac Quilt Block Party Series number 3 by Eleanor Burns. And last month, the month of January, the block that we did was called Wandering Star, and so I will show you my Wandering Star from January, and you'll see that these are the colors that we're using. And this month our quilt block is called Road to the White House. And so I'll show you what that looks like. So this is Road to the White House. So that's our goal today, is to put that block together. And then we will have 2 blocks in our 12 block series. Now, please forgive me as I'm still learning with different things. I just got a brand new phone, so I'm working on better lighting in my room, using what I have, not buying anything, just using what I have, but also better angles for you. So I will do my best to do that. And as I do voiceovers, I've had a couple comments about if I could turn that music down. And right now I don't know how to separate it, so I will definitely turn it down so that it is not so loud when I'm doing those voiceovers so that there's not that competition between what you're hearing. So I'm going to do my best, so bear with me, but I'm excited to share with you the Road to the White House block. So I will see you in a minute. So I'm taking the first medium, my second medium, so I'm just double checking what I have. I'm going to use this as my first dark with the pink background. There's my light, and then the blue background will be my second dark. So the pink backgrounds are my number 1s, my blues are my number 2s. First thing I need to do is I need to take my first medium, which I could do a 5" by 10", and then I realize I have blocks from the previous month that I can use and not waste this material. So I put it aside because I realized, oh, that's right, here they are. These are these old blocks from previous month. I'll get back to that in a minute. Taking my second medium, which happens to have a blue background, and it's not as busy a print as what I'm considering my darks. And I'm taking my pen. This is where I mark, I snip, and I tear. So this is a method I use a lot. Remember, this is not what a very seasoned quilter would want to do. They would say, oh, you need to cut it, make it nice and straight, so on and so forth. And just remember, when you're tearing, you are altering that fabric slightly. You're loosening the weave ever so little, but you are loosening it. So I'm seam ripping out some of these squares I made last month, realizing I want to use this up. I don't want to cut into my stash anymore. I want to just use what's in this grouping if I can. I do not like to see waste. This was so painful. As you get older, your eyes just don't work the way they used to, so I had to put in on my little readers to help me out here. All right, now I'm taking my light and I am taking my first dark, which is the pink background, and it just has there's more busyness to it. It is a fuller print. And what I need to do is I need to make a 2.5 by 18" strip of both of these. And since I'm using a 12" ruler, you'll see I'm making 2 marks just because it only goes to 12 inches and I need 18 inches. Now I'm taking my second dark, and out of this I need to make 2 4.5" squares. And then I'm snipping off the selvage. Now here I'm taking my second medium, which is the blue background, and I'm taking, which is a 5 by 10 inch rectangle, but then I'm taking my first medium that I had made squares out of last month, and I'm pinning those on as best I can. So if you put the two long sides of those triangles together, it should create a 5-inch square. So that's what I'm doing, pinning it on as best I can. At some point I realized that, I think it was when I was ironing, that I should have put more space between on the diagonal, but I did not. So here it says in the instructions to make a line, a diagonal, and then you're going to sew on each side of that diagonal so that you can then have your well, I'm just going to pause right there because I've lost the words I was going to use. Again, another issue with growing older. So those words just don't come to you as beautifully as they used to. All right, then I'm going to snip this apart. I'm going to cut right down the middle there to create my blocks. So you see there's the pink on the one side, blue on the other. And when you open them up, it looks really nice. And then the other thing I'm doing is I am taking the first dark and the light, which is 2.5 by 18, and will be sewing those on one side along the long direction, the long side. And here I am with my iron and opening those things up and pressing them, and always pressing to the dark. Pressing to the dark side is always nicer. It has a tendency to hide that selvage better. Pressing everything open. It's nice and flat. And then taking that long one, doing the same thing. And then after this is pressed open, you do need to cut these into 2.5-inch lengths so that you've got the light and the dark. But first I am going to square the medium squares that have the first and second medium on them. I'm going to square those up to 3.5 inches. Here I am with those. This is the making 8, where I had sewn the strips together, cut them 2.5 inches, and then I flipped them around, cutting them apart, and then I'm going to press them open. Basically, you're creating like a little checkerboard where there's 2 lights on the diagonal, and then the pink mediums on the other, depending on the fabric that you're using. But for mine, it's the 2 pinks on the diagonal. Here it is laid out, what it would look like. And now I'm going to sew the vertical rows together, and then I will sew the horizontal rows together. Well, I feel like I did much better following the instructions on this on this pattern here, or this quilt square. A couple things that I'm going to go back and mention is, one of the things I did is last month I had misread the instructions and I cut too many 5-inch squares. And so I did utilize some of those 5-inch squares that I had messed up with last month, and I utilized it in this month's. Now, a couple things to note when you're putting these things together is, I'm okay if it's not on point 100%. But if you rip the fabric like I do, it does change the fabric slightly, so keep that in mind. I do it because I'm lazy, and to me, I kind of like a quirky quilt that doesn't necessarily meet up all the time. I'm not a perfectionist when it comes to that, but if you are, it's really important that you pre-wash, pre-iron, and cut using rotary cutters, mats, etc., so that you can get a really great, perfect stitch, or line, everything lines up. And then once you get those squares, then make sure you're cutting those up 100%. And every time, quite honestly, and then at the end you do the same thing. But let's see here, yeah, this is how I'm going to assemble it. This is going to be my top, the top, and then that's going to be my bottom. But if you don't like the way that looks, turn it upside down, you know what I mean? So take a look at your quilt square and see what you like. But I'm gonna put it together the way this shows it, and it shows that the white is up, and one of the things I realized is I do have these flipped. So I guess this is, if I were to look at the picture, because this is my medium one, or is it medium 1, and that's my medium 2, it has the medium 2 up above. So I guess that's how I would, I don't know. Nope, I don't know. Now I'm having a hard time. Is that the same way? No. I want my medium 2 up. That's my medium 2. Is that the only way it shows up? That's medium 2 up. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I'm going on and on and on. I think this is how I'm going to put it together, but you'll see how these things didn't match up quite right. To me, they're close enough. That bottom looks pretty good. But I'm okay with that being slightly off. If that makes sense. And if you are a quilt as you go kind of person, you can take January quilt square and you can, stitch it to your March or your February one. I'm not going to do that, but yeah, I just think they're so much fun. Before I put these all together, I will square them all up, make sure that they all match up nicely. Next month on March 20th is when I will do our next quilt square, and it is called Irish Chain. So it's a really, really neat one. I've done Irish Chain before. Love it. Their variation is slightly different, so I'm excited to try that. Next week we're back into costumes, and I gotta tell you, this is hard for me to choose which ones to do. My goal with costumes is to, number one, find redheaded characters, because I don't want to change my hair. I have naturally orange strawberry blonde hair, and I keep my hair, right now I'm growing it out, but there's so many redheaded characters out there, and I just want to show you some fun ways to dress up like them. And the 4 that I have chosen, well, I'm going to tell you 3, because the 4th is kind of a mystery one, and you're kind of, should I keep the mystery? See, that's just it. Like, what's gonna leave you hanging here? I'll give you a hint as to what it is. So the first one, my goal to dress as is Jessica Rabbit. The second one is Medusa from The Rescuers, and she's the villain in that one. The third one is Reba McEntire, with her Fancy outfit. If you know the song Fancy, she's a country singer. And one of her famous songs is Fancy. And then the fourth one I'm going to do based off of a painter from a pre-Raphaelite painter. So that's it. So look up some of those pre-Raphaelite redheaded paintings and see if you can figure out which one I am going to be replicating. I don't know. Maybe I'll put something on Instagram and see if you guys respond that way. But super excited. Thank you for joining me, and I'm excited to. Geez, goodness, I'm excited for next week. I put it in order with Snag Tights, and I am just hoping that they show up by then. They may not. Blessings, and I'll see you next week.